Welcome to the Present and Sober podcast with your hosts, Sam Goldfinch and Ellie Crow. If you want to make your life bigger, not smaller, then this is the podcast for you. If you can sense that you're destined for more and you're curious about how drinking could be holding you back, listen in and come on this journey with us. Through the interplay of mind and body practices, we will help you elevate your daily life and discover the wonder and potential of going alcohol-free. Let's make life bigger together. Hey, you beautiful people. Okay, happy Tuesday, or whatever day of the week it happens to be as you're listening to this. So this week we're talking about patience, and this I mean, I'm not sure that it has always been my forte, patience, but definitely making some progress in this regard. I've been talking a lot about this on the Rebel Spirituality podcast as well. So if this is something that resonates, make sure you go check out the couple of mini podcasts, 6-7 minute long podcasts that have come out recently over there, just to add to this, because they'll all go together very synergistically. And but just before we talk about patience, you're going to have to be patient. Haha, see what I did there? And because I've got a really cool thing to announce. So it's been a while, but me and that Ellie Crow are going to be part of the This Naked Mind live alcohol experiment this October, and we're going to be in there together, which is, I can't remember the last time. I actually can't remember the last time we were in one together. So if you've done one before, if you've been looking to do one, if you're, it's such good fun, it's such good energy, and the community is amazing, the content is amazing, and it's an absolute bargain. It's like $47 for the month, which is insane, and it's just such a cool place to be. So if you've been thinking about taking a break, if you know that you need to take one from booze or wherever you happen to be, it's a really cool place to go and explore. So we've got a link in the show notes for you, so go click it and come join us, and we'd love to see you there. Oh, and that link as well, it gives a little bit of a kickback to the podcast, so This Naked Mind will donate some of the money that goes to the Present and Sober podcast, so we can reinvest it into all the things that we're up to here. So that's it. Okay, team, without further ado, thank you for being patient. I'll hand you over to me and Ellie. See you soon.
Don't you fucking dare. Don't you
so many muscles.
Dare. Who do you think you are?
Made of muscles.
Get out of my intro.
You normally go, hello, hello, hello. That would work as well. Who do you think you are? Get out of my get out of my shop.
Get out of my intro. That's Peggy Mitchell, isn't it? For those of you in the UK or EastEnders fans.
Yeah, a large portion of our listenership is based in the USA, so they're probably not going to.
How do you know they don't watch EastEnders?
Well, some
will. Try and shore up their Cockney rhyming slang.
Yeah.
Is she still alive, or is that a bad question to ask? She got quite ill, didn't she? I think she got quite ill.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I wouldn't know. Sorry.
She's like a fucking legend, isn't she?
From the Carry On films and everything, yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that one where is it Carry On Camping, where she's doing the exercises and her bra pings off.
Yeah, how things have changed. That was like
you definitely wouldn't get that these days, would you? Anyway, so today we're talking about a really important subject. I've learned a lot about this over the years.
I need to ask you something before you do that.
Oh, go on.
I need to ask you to remain at a equal distance from the microphone throughout today's recording, because there have been some times recently where you've had your legs up sunbathing or something, and your face has been, and there's only so much I can do with that. So I just need you to.
I've had my face where?
Well, like you've had your feet up to sun them or whatever you were doing, and your face has sort of been turning a bit, and you've been close and then far away, and I could just do with you remaining 20 centimeters or so from the microphone at all times, please. But please do continue.
Yeah, that's what I'm just going to tell you now. It's not going to happen, Mr. Sam. But thanks for the pointers.
Right.
Here's something for you. We're talking about patience today, mate. So you can learn how to cultivate some patience with my requirements to move.
You might want to ask the listeners for that, because they're the ones that are having to do the equivalent of, when you squint your eyes so you can see, whatever the equivalent of squinting your ears is, so that you can tune in.
Does it sound that bad?
No. But it is, we're aiming for professional. Ellie, have you not noticed that the number one value that we are working towards on this podcast is professionalism? How many fucking times have I got to tell you this?
You're definitely in the wrong place, mate.
Well, I think you are. Right, come on.
Quite literally. So, patience. Talking about patience. I used to have a beautiful picture of patients in...
Is that hospital ones?
No, as in patience, the kind that you want to cultivate in life to be more...
How do you have a picture of that?
That's it was beautiful. It's in Japanese script, and I don't know where it's gone. And I used to look at this thing and think, I wish I could be more patient. Maybe if I keep looking at it, I'll cultivate some. And the reason this has come up recently is I've had lots of conversations with people who, in coaching conversations, they've kind of, sorry, just moving my head there, Mr. Sam. They've done that thing of, they have an insight through the coaching conversation, and then the realization at the end is, oh, I need to be more patient with this. I need to have some more patience. I'm not a very patient person. And that was kind of the output of lots of conversations in the last week. So I thought it would be a really good thing for us to talk about.
Yeah, it's really cool, actually. I just came off the back of a really cool weekend, hanging out with some people, looking at some cool shit, doing some coach training stuff. And I think one of my biggest desires in life, my heart's desire right now, is to slow down, because I didn't know who it was, but I was listening to that. Is it Mac Davies' song, Where You Going in Such a Hurry, or whatever? They're like, stop and smell the flowers. I don't know if that's where it comes from, but that's
Can you sing it for me, just so we can get a sense? In Japanese.
I don't know. It's like country. It's country. You want me to do Japanese country western?
Oh,
yeah, it's
wonderful.
New genre.
Sounds delightful.
I don't know if it is a new genre, actually. Enlighten us in the Facebook group. Is that a new genre? No, I kind of realized that it's very easy to be very kind of like to be very goal setty, and we're a very goal setty what's the word? Civilization. That seems a bit grandiose. Society, whatever. But a lot of this civilization is kind of goal setting, and there's nothing wrong with goals at all. But I think, as we were talking about earlier, mate, if we're in the illusion that we can't be happy or we can't feel a certain thing until we've achieved said goal, then we've set ourselves up basically for, we've put our whole life at stake. Not our whole life. We've put a set of feelings and an experience. We've staked it against that circumstance. So effectively, it's, I can't be happy until X, Y, Z happens. And we all do that a lot. And then we can get in a hurry, obviously, because it makes sense. It's like, well, I want to be there now. I want to get there really quickly. And so anyone who knows anything about me or Ellie, and there's so much going on. I've got co-creation projects coming up here. There's like podcasts being made, and I love it all. It's all beautiful. It's all great. But it's easy to get caught up in this kind of like frenetic energy and think that that's the answer, when actually what I really want is to slow down and just come from joy and experience more and more of that in my life. And it's totally possible to create and have insights and have all this beautiful stuff happen and not be in a hurry. Like, it's actually a habit that we're in. Like, we think it's helping to be in a hurry, but it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't. That we can work fast and not be in a hurry. We can, build and create towards our goals or whatever and not be in a hurry. So patience looks like patience is a virtue. I guess that's the phrase, right?
It is. While you were talking, your friendly orb was just having a little whirl around your face.
Is it?
Yeah.
What are they supposed to be? Are they like, is that a ghost or something?
Well, effectively, yeah. Yeah.
Is it?
Manifestation of, some being.
My old hurrying ways.
Yeah, maybe.
That orb wasn't in a hurry, was it?
No, it was kind of just like looping round. See it quite often. Maybe
loopy orb.
Maybe now we can. Maybe it'll show up on the old video shorts things.
Will it be like one of those videos where you watch it back and they do like a freeze frame and they circle it and they're like, there's the orb, and it's a bit of dust or whatever. Or maybe
it's not dust. It's not dust. Dust doesn't move like that, mate. I've researched all of this.
Fair enough.
So
I'm open. I'm open. Yeah, you know me. I like to look for the evidence for these things, and so I'm very open to it. We'll have to. We can have a conversation about orbs sometime soon. There we go.
Yeah, let's get like a medium or something on. That'd be quite cool.
I don't think I know it. Do you know any mediums?
I do. I know a couple.
Like as in two mediums that live together, or
Oh no, not a couple.
sorry,
I do have a story about a medium that was it was one of the funniest things that ever has happened in my life. Do you know that guy Colin Fry? Have you heard of him?
I don't know. It rings a bell. Is he on? He's not on telly, is he?
I think he might have been. For a laugh, this is quite a few years ago. For a laugh, me and the husband who was with at the time and another couple went along to this show in Cambridge, this mediumship show, and there was all like merch out the front, and you've got, you know, like this with his hands on his head, you know, like
looking sick,
and we were all like all up for the merch. I don't think we actually bought the merch, but got in there. The whole thing starts, and he's kind of pulling people from the crowd for like, oh, you know, I've got this person, and they're really musical, you know, I can see them playing the piano, and he goes through all of these things, and this is about midway through the show, and this hand goes up. It's like, oh, it's like, and then he's fixated on this person, and he's pulling out all this stuff, and they're like this, right, and they do this, and yeah, and it went on for quite some time. And he's channeling, and it's all good, and they're here and they're talking about all this stuff, and they're really connecting on it. And then the person who is being read cottoned on to something he'd said and went, oh no, they're still alive. And the whole point of this is for people that have passed over. So you've just had a 10-minute conversation channeling somebody that is apparently still alive. So at this point, then it starts to get a little bit.
He's a bit hot under the collar,
Mr. Colin, or are you swinging the lead a bit, Mr. Colin? Very funny. He was not expecting that, and neither were we. So
curveball.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, so going back to patience, I think that might have been a bit our biggest detour yet.
People are having to be like, this is by the way, guys, we planned this. This is a practice for you to be patient while we get to the point.
What's that phrase? Something about all good things come to those who wait.
Yeah, there you go.
I wonder where that came from. Anyway, when you were talking, I was thinking about there being some kind of balance to be had around, because what you were saying about goal setting, like, I think it's useful to have sight of like what's important to you.
Oh yeah,
so
sure.
Have an intention. So that you've like directionally, there's somewhere that you're orienting towards. But when we get caught up in the striving and the clinging and the chasing and the grasping, that's where we can really become undone. Well,
yeah, and it's a great point, and I don't think I really meant what I said. There's nothing wrong with goals. It's not the setting of goals. The desire is desiring something, and having an authentic desire looks beautiful. It's when it becomes craving, when it becomes like I can't experience something until I get there, because the belief that's running is feelings are coming from the world, feelings are coming from circumstances, and they're not. They're coming, like, feelings of contentment and joy and love and peace, they come from within us. They're spiritual. They're not form in that way. They're not like coming from the world out there. They're coming from within us. So the real secret and we're not told this, is actually just wanting something just because we want it, just because it makes sense to us, because we're being guided to bring that into being, because it's going to be fun. But it doesn't mean our like whole experience of life is on the line, that we can't So it looks like we start from where we want to go, and then we just then the creation is a really different thing. So I completely agree with you, mate. Like it's and then we get patience, right? Because if we realize that our experience is coming from within and not from out there, well, we can do all those things at the same time. We can experience deep, beautiful states of peace and contentment, and we can create. Now, I think the issue that a lot of people have, in my experience, is they think that they wouldn't do anything if they weren't motivated to. They think like, well, I'm just going to sit on my ass and I'm not going to do anything. But actually, no, like there's a huge creative impulse that's kind of ripping through the whole of the universe. And if you dial into that wisdom, that intelligence behind life, it depends how you want to think about it, consciousness, the intelligence behind life, God, wisdom, there's all these different signposts we can use to point at it. Pick and choose the one that works for you. The moment you're dialed in there, where you're creating from is a really different place. And you don't have to be so activated about it all. You don't have to live in fight or flight so much.
Yeah. I love that, because this is the thing, like you think that you're the doer. I am doing all of this. I'm responsible for all of this. Just as you say, if left to me and I kind of get free rein to not do, not problem solve, not fix, then nothing's going to happen. Like it's all just going to go to shit. And that's not true at all. That whatever desire that you have, that whatever desire you have that kind of leads you to that intention, that it's not really coming from you anywhere. It's like this unstoppable force, and you can kind of get in the way of it. I got in the way of mine for so many years, and we put things in the way. There's all of these obscurations and veils, but it'll get through. It's like it's just a matter of time. Like it will come through. Like it's unstoppable. It will find its way through, and you will be led and guided. So the interesting thing for everybody listening to this to play with is what happens when you start to take your hands off the wheel. And I'm talking metaphorically here. Do not drive around with your hands
unless you got a Tesla that drives for you, and you're
mine drives itself for a little bit, but then it gets agitated and it goes the steering wheel wobbles, so it reminds you to
you don't want that,
take over again. So but it's this really interesting thing to play with, of like, well, what happens if I stop trying to orchestrate, to fix? What if I took the view that there's no problem to be solved? Actually, what happens?
I'm gonna take this moment to plug my podcast. I don't do this very often, but fuck it, I'm gonna do it. So either when this goes out, it will be like 2 weeks in the past, I think, that I put a podcast out called The Art of Making Decisions. And it's only 7 or 8 minutes, but it's an extension of what we're talking about here in the decision-making process. And effectively, what I talk about in there is how it's almost more powerful to know when not to make decisions than it is to kind of, because when we're caught up and when we're full of like all this pressurized thinking and everything, we're not just accessing that kind of deep well of wisdom that we have. And for me, I didn't know I could do that. Like I used to lie awake at night and literally torture myself. I would just think and think and think and think. And the idea would be that if I just did it enough, then I'd figure out the solution and then I'd be okay. And the truth is that literally putting it down and going to bed, and then you wake up in the morning, and very often the insight or the thing that comes from within you is there for you to see. And I didn't know this at the time, but I was trying to, like, actually the word that comes to me now is I didn't know how to unhook from what was going on in my head at that time. So I felt like my head is full of bees. I can't unhook from this. I have to just follow this energy through to the end and get rid of it. But these days, the kind of metaphor or analogy I sometimes use is, okay, if there's a fire raging in your head, or if there's a fire, there's a big, big difference between water, just watching the fire, which will burn out in the end, no matter how big it is, because it's going to run out of fuel. And like, so don't fan it. I was fanning the flames previously. These days, it's like, okay, there it is. There's a whole bunch of thinking in my head, but I'm going to put my attention somewhere else. I'm going to put my attention somewhere else and see what comes. And in the same way is this knowing that we're being guided by something deeper, like you're talking about, mate, when it comes to, and that is, patience definitely comes into this. I know we're going to talk about trust as well, but patience is a big one. And to me, it's almost like it's an experiment, like you've said. Just slow down a bit. Just hang out in that space, because what you may very well find, or will find, is that the more you just allow your system to clear, and the more you just sort of come back to home base, and the more you have clarity, like that snow globe settling, the more you'll get access to all of the things you're innocently trying to get through a hurried mind anyway. It's a habit. It is a habit that we've picked up. It's a belief that we have that hurrying will get me somewhere faster. And, there's all these more haste, less speed things. They all talk to the truth of it. It's like we just run ourselves into a tiz. And then I don't know about you, mate, but like that very kind of activated, to me, it's like a warning light. These days I'm just kind to myself, and I just notice, okay, don't fan the flames, chill out, take some time, go for a walk, because trying to like just getting involved in that energy for me is there's a lot of, I don't know how it is for you, there's warning signals that go off for me now, like my sleep starts suffering, all that kind of stuff.
But even that, the way that the mind runs amok and they're tying yourself in knots and all of that, even that's wise, right? Because ultimately what it does is wears you out to the point of exhaustion and surrender, where you have to you have to just allow, but it doesn't have to be that way. So I did an instance recently with it was like it's like, do you remember Friends Reunited? Do you remember that website that years ago, Friends Reunited?
Oh yeah, where you found people that you hadn't seen for ages.
You're like, who the fuck wants to do that? That would be so weird. Anyway, it just came to mind because I was reunited with an old friend I hadn't seen for a long time, called Anxiety. And I hadn't.
Is it Anxiety? Was it
Anxiety? Yeah, hadn't been around her for a while. Yeah, what a cow.
She's well uptight.
My God, it was quite the experience. I feel anxiety moving through every now and again, but this was like going back to how I used to be pretty much every day of my life. I used to just live in anxiety, and it was awful and it was debilitating. And the usual stuff of there's a circumstance and trying to control the outcome of the circumstantial stuff, the stuff in the world of form, and then creating the feelings of anxiety and the experience for myself that I'm living in. And the thing that was really interesting going through that sort of few days was it was a real teaching point for myself and a real reminder of what to do and what not to do. So what not to do, keep trying to problem solve, and I was caught up in a bunch of like justice sensitivity stuff, which made it feel a million times worse. And I like your word unhook, because to unhook myself from it, I decided I was going to move my body, and I went into this really lovely strength practice, and it just changed my state, so that then when I was kind of easing into going to sleep, I wasn't ruminating. I wasn't continuing to think about the stuff. And then I woke up in the morning, and then, there's that feeling again. Not quite as intense, but it was still there. And so I spent a bunch of time in practices that would open my heart, so that, again, I'm not trying to think my way out of something, but I'm feeling my way through it. And the thing that was really interesting towards the end of this, because it looked like it was just going to go on for days, weeks, possibly months. And I'm thinking, shit, I'm going to be dealing with this for a long time. And there was a resistance because I don't want to. And then the thing that was just so beautiful was when I'd unhooked myself and stopped trying to resist the physical sensations of it. And I just was with myself, attuned to myself, taking care of myself in the best way that I knew how. I could hear this guidance, and this guidance, it was really clear. It was like, wait. The old version of me would have been, right, and I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to do this thing. And of course, the mind is continuing to try and plan, because it likes to predict what's going to happen and likes to have this sort of feeling or this illusion of control. But every time I felt drawn into that, I kept unhooking myself. And this guidance was so clear. It just said to wait. And then that was a whole day of waiting, when otherwise I would have done something else. And the next day was the same. And I'd, as part of my meditation practice, I was asking for some very specific support around it, a very specific outcome that I'd asked for in the morning. And again, during that day, resisted the urge to try and fix. And I think it was like before one of my last calls of the day, the thing resolved.
Yeah.
Just resolved. Now, would it have done if I'd have interfered with that? Possibly not. So it was a real lesson in achieving more by doing less.
Yeah.
And being able to hear really clearly that guidance, that it is always there. Always.
Oh, you bet. And I love two things. I love how you spoke about the deep wisdom in the system, even when it might not look comfortable. So I'd love to talk about that for a minute. And I love how you then showed how actually you can have an insight, and how something from the heart of your being, wait, and then something can be different. And so, for someone who might be thinking like, how the fuck is burnout like wisdom? Well, if you think about it, if you've been believing that hurrying and being activated is the way to get stuff done, or you've been running on like scarcity, like I have to prove myself, I have to get this done, I can't be okay until it's done, that kind of stuff, then that will make sense to you until it doesn't, right? And if you run that through to its extreme, in the end, your body is going to be like, we can't do this anymore, stop. And that may be illness, burnout, fatigue, whatever it might be, and it will put you on your ass. And then, in that moment, for me, like I really did that to myself. I was complete scatterbrain for a while, and I really needed a while to kind of recenter. But then I had some really powerful insights, which were, the feeling that I had when I got myself into burnout was, you're going to miss the boat, you're going to miss the boat, you're going to miss the boat. If you don't get this done, you're going to miss the boat, and it's going to have massive implications, blah, 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 all this stuff. Then, in the end, it kind of put me on my ass. I was completely not in a good place. Me and Rob were absolutely fine, but our relationship had suffered because I wasn't really there at the weekends and stuff like that. My brain was just melting. I was just all over the shop. And then I realized, mate, you're not going to miss the boat. Like you're building a boat, and no one can build your boat, man. Like there is no thing to miss. Like it's kind of remember thinking that at some point, and it was really nice. And suddenly that insight happened. And over the course of the last, few years, hurrying and stressing myself out and all that kind of stuff, it just doesn't make sense. And that's because of insights. That's because of, it's not like a nice idea that occurred to me in the moment. It's like I had a misunderstanding. I thought all that stuff was helpful. I thought it was going to get me where I wanted to go. I had some misunderstandings about myself and about who I really am, and the fact that, all this stuff. And so as I've been on that journey, a spiritual journey, things have really shifted and things have changed. And this week is a really interesting thing to reflect on, because as you know, me and Scott have just put something out, and we're in the process of creating stuff, and I feel really different. I don't feel like I've slept every night. I'm excited. Sure, I've had moments where I felt a bit like there's a lot going on and all that kind of stuff, but I don't feel activated. Like my whole system isn't massively in fight or flight and that kind of stuff. And it's just nice to be there. So I just want anyone to know that you might feel like your body or your system has been working against you, but it's not. It doesn't work like that. That's not how it's going. There might just be something else for you to see in a conversation like this, and you'll see what you need to see in due course. So yeah, I love that. It's funny how we've ended up here when we talk about patience, but ultimately, you can try and solve the fact that you're not patient, right? You can try and make yourself more patient. You can attempt to control your behavior to make yourself be more calm when you're waiting in line. Or you can look at the cause of what's making that make sense to you. What's making impatience seem like a valid thing, like a good thing to do. That looks like you're getting to the heart of it. You're getting more to the root of it rather than trying to control behavior, which is never the ultimate solution. No, it's just more resistance. So ultimately it won't work. You'll just suffer accordingly. Yeah, and it's just like, it ain't the end point. So the thing is, behavior is the point, the end, right? It's like we have we have a whole set of kind of imprinting and conditioning and all of this stuff that is within us that is why certain things make sense to us, why one person does one thing and one person does something completely different. Behavior is the point, the end of that. If we try to kind of reverse engineer it so that we think, well, if I just change the behavior, well, yeah, okay, but all of the stuff upstream of that, all of the stuff that's making the behavior make sense is still locked in place at the end of the day. So we need to come back, and a lot of places come back to the world of sort of belief, and there's a lot of belief work, and that's powerful, right? But there's another layer back, and the ultimate layer back is spiritual. It's who you are. It's the nature of your experience. It's not the content of your experience. And that's the place from where insights come. That's where that's where an update to your kind of perceptual system or how you see the world will that's where that's going to come from. Not a bunch of not how many notes you take, not how often, because I mean, this is maybe a nice thing to kind of wrap this conversation up on, mate, is that we see a lot of people who are innocently impatient to watch every single video and learn every single thing and push every single note in their brain and all the rest of it. But actually that ain't necessarily going to cut it. Coming back into the experience of who you really are and slowing down a bit is much more likely to help you sort of have those insights and stuff, although they can come whenever. I had that one of my biggest insights came in the middle of burnout, right? Didn't he? But we don't have to get there.
Go slow to go fast. Isn't that I don't know where that came from.
Yeah. And all those things, they're like lovely phrases until they really make sense to us. And then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, it works like that.
Can you hear the dog? I reckon there's going to be a bit of snoring and a rumbly tummy on this podcast. And I've tried to keep my head in the same place.
I think you've done quite well.
Thanks a lot.
You've done quite well. Better than last week. All right, mate. So I think we're gonna say that that's a wrap, are we?
Yeah. See you next Tuesday.
Are you gonna do a wrap?
No.
Oh, everyone's massively disappointed now. All right. See you soon, team.